Hi, I'm Andre Robichaud. I'm working for the Woodland Division of Miramichi Pulp and Paper Incorporated. We carry out the long-range planning for our forestry and logging operation on our 2 Crown licenses. This video is about the importance of communication and attention to the environment in our long-range planning for wood supply at Miramichi Pulp and Paper Incorporated. In a region known as Canada's oldest logging community, it is no surprise that Miramichiers ask questions about the future of our forests. Life around here has always been built around the river, the mills and the woods. Logging camps, river drive and sawmill whistle fills our folk songs. Fiddleheads, Gaspereau and our famous Miramichi salmon are part of life on this river. There appears a sudden awareness of the environment among the people. We seem to be looking to the future. In the Miramichi, almost everyone agrees. A plentiful, healthy, well-managed forests are vital to the future of our children and grandchildren. One of the serious problems of our forests is age. We have an age class problem. Most of our forest is old, like overripe bananas, too much coming ripe at the same time. Spruce and fir are the bread and butter species for our local mills. This forest is either very old, 70 to 100 years, or too young, 20 to 30 years of age, with hardly any middle age and very little to mature over the next 30 years. The greatest challenge in our 25 years management plan is to keep the old forest alive for another 30 or 40 years so we can use it. Keeping the old forest alive for another 30 or 35 years is no easy trick. Trees are like people. Once you get to be 80 or 90 years old, you can't expect to be around and healthy for another 30 or 40 years. Quality is a serious problem in our spruce and fir forests. We schedule our harvest blocks to salvage the areas most apt to fall apart. We save the blocks that are healthy and growing for future years. Rot usually sets in fir trees when they are 50 years old. Much of our cut these days is in fir stands that are 75 to 80 years old. Most trees, large and small, have rotten buds. You can imagine how quickly these trees would fall down if they were not harvested quickly. For the next 30 to 35 years, this old, low-quality spruce and fir forest is all we have to use. The trick is to schedule our cutting blocks at the right time in order to stretch this old forest until the new forest is ready. Will we run out of wood? The answer is no. There is a catch, though. We will not run out of wood. It's quality, size, and cost that could make our mills uncompetitive. These low-quality trees may be too poor a quality in 20 years' time to make high-quality paper. Even before then, we will have a problem to find enough high-quality sawlogs. One of the things that scares us most as we schedule our harvest block for the next 25 years is the spruce budworm. These worms kill trees in 3 or 4 years of severe defoliation. They can kill small trees in less than 2 years. Our Miramichi forest is extremely vulnerable to the spruce budworm. For 150 years, we took only the best sawlogs for the sawmills. There were no pulp mills to use the low-quality pulpwood, so the low-quality trees were left in the woods. Now our forest is generally low quality and we lose much every year to rot and mortality. Protection against the spruce budworm is fundamental to the economic and social well-being of our Miramichi community. We must keep our trees alive so we have choices to manage in the future. The budworm is like fire. It kills trees regardless of age. A fire can take 2 hours and budworms 2 years to wipe out a stand that has taken 60 to 80 years to grow. Protection is a word that has become common in our planning for the next 25 years. Protection of water quality has become important to the general public. Protection of fish and wildlife habitat has become a priority on public lands over the past 10 years and especially in the last 5 years. In New Brunswick, in 1988, there were 175,000 fishing licenses sold. There were 150,000 hunting licenses. It is no secret that people in New Brunswick want these values protected as we manage our forests long term. In the area of water quality, we have made major improvement over the past 3 years. Where we must be careful is in the installation of culverts, bridges, and ditches. In 1987, we took the unusual step of asking government biologists to sit down with our tractor operators, foremen, and contractors. The biologists explained how critical it is to keep fine sand and silt out of our small streams to protect spawning beds for trout and salmon. This communication will continue. 20 years ago, who could ever imagine a skidder operator in the same room with a biologist? We believe it is only with good, honest communication and cooperation that we can work together to protect all the values of the resource over the long term. We will have the occasional slip-up and mistakes, but we see that almost every Miramichi woodsman and equipment operator likes to fish and hunt also. They have a stake in doing a good job. They take their kids fishing and hunting too, and the biologists are helping them to understand the best method to protect streams and wildlife for the future. One of the areas of success over the past 15 to 20 years is in the leaving of buffer strips along every stream. We leave a buffer strip uncut on both sides of every stream with running water. These buffer strips keep the water cool and the leaves and the bugs provide food for the fish. Deer and other small animals use these buffer zones for travel corridors. Government and company regulation and field inspection are very tough on anyone that cuts too close to a brook or a lake. There are very few infractions of this kind on our operation. Government regulation called for a 500-foot uncut strip to be left around lakes and on both sides of every salmon river. Even on smallest streams, uncut 100-foot buffer strips are left on both sides of each brook. These are marked out on the ground before cutting, and crews respect these boundaries almost without fail on Crown land. There are no such regulations on private woodlots, but the company has recently adapted the same government regulation on the company's 37,000 acres of private woodlands. Reserve of special areas for special treatment has become routine on our Crown Land operation over the past 10 years. Deer wintering areas are blocked off and cut in special pattern to help protect deer in the cold and the deep snow. Deer sometimes gather by the hundreds in deer yards, and hundreds of trails are tramped to a hard pack by the deer as they travel in the protected area, away from the cold and with good food supply. The freshly cut areas near deer yards often are a handy source of food that is easy to reach. Deer love cedar and hardwood tops, as is seen in the background of this deer yard we have at Millbrook between Devil's Back and Renews. Sometimes our crew will fall a few cedars for the deer, and in no time 10 to 12 deer will be feeding on the tops. There seems to be a trust that grows between the animal and the woodsman that allows the deer to come within a few feet of the men as they work. The woods would not be the same without the fish, the deer, the sound of the birds, and the many animals that shared the resource. It is in the interests of all Miramicheers to protect the beauty and values of our resource as we manage for wood supply. Our objective long-term is to double our wood supply in New Brunswick over the next 50 years. We must schedule very closely in order to survive the tight availability of wood for a few years in 25 years' time. We'll survive that and be pretty happy in the long term as planted and thinned areas become ready for cutting if we stick to our present plan and protect against fire and spruce budworm. Although protection and salvage are our major tools in the next 25 years, planting and spacing are the secrets to our long-term wood supply. We have 60 million trees in our plantation now. It takes 40 years to grow our plantation crop. Our plantations are healthy, beautiful, and green. We will be planting over 4 million trees every year over the next 25 years. Spacing and thinning dense regeneration has become the major thrust of our silviculture program. Most stands on the north side of the Miramichi have fir content. After cutting, the natural regeneration is so dense that thinning is necessary to allow good growth. We space 7,500 acres per year. We leave 800 trees per acre and double the growth of these trees over the next 25 years. The dense natural stands are about 15 years old and look like this. The trees have no room to grow. Each spacing saw operator thins about 1 acre each day. We have 110 trained professionals on this job during the season. The stand looks like this the day they are spaced. Here is some of our natural stands 8 years after spacing. They are green and plenty of foliage. Exactly what we are looking for. It is a good feeling of satisfaction to see this area that was clear cut in 1966. We are blessed with plenty of natural regeneration. All that is needed is a thinning operation to help things along. We have come a long ways in New Brunswick over the past 10 years. There have been many changes and many areas of improvement. There is need for refinement and more care with our resource. We must start with the little things at home. We have to work with our children and teach by example. We have a problem of litter on our highways, and we have the same problem on our logging roads. We cannot demand protection of all values of the resource without personal discipline and commitment. Beer bottles, oil cans and potato chip bags along our roads are inconsistent with our plan for a beautiful New Brunswick and a clean environment. Over the next 20 years, let's challenge the rest of the country. Let's work together towards a clean river, a healthy, well-managed forest, and rewarding, satisfying jobs that give dignity to every family in the Miramichi. With communication, commitment, and attention to the environment over the long term, the Miramichi will be a happy and healthy place for our children.